Okay, good morning, everyone. I know there's a few more trickling in, but we'll get started. I want to make sure we're on time, mindful with everyone's schedules. So my name is George Linares. I'm CMS's Chief Technology Officer, so welcome to this month's Tech Topics. We're trying to switch over. That will be our second topic. Our first topic is, one of the things I keep telling everybody on a monthly basis is that this forum is about showcasing some of the things that CMS has, not only for our contractor community, but especially for our federal staff, because I want them to know what we have. Sometimes we're such a large organization, we're all doing the things that are needed to be done to support our different respective programs, and we don't have the time really to see what's happening within CMS. So the next topic is one of those things. It's Corporate Executive Board, which is a research type subscription. And as a matter of fact, it just got acquired by Gartner. We have Gartner as well, but CEB just got acquired by Gartner probably 2-3 months ago. We don't know what's going to happen out of the merger, but in the meantime, we'll continue to have this subscription. And Leslie Flaherty here, she's going to give us an overview on what's it about, and then what's available, how you can use it. In addition to that, of course, our second topic is about AWS and DevOps. What is it that CMS has been doing? And then we'll try to fill you in some of the interesting things that are happening in that regard. So without further ado, Leslie, please. You want to sit down, or you can sit there, and here's the clicker. You do forward and backwards, and you can use that one. Okay. And it should be. So just give it a couple of minutes for the presentation to load up, and then we'll get started. Any questions in the meantime? Anyone? I know it's Monday morning. It's tough, weekend, it's raining. No? Okay, so just waiting for a couple more seconds there, and then we'll get started. Yes, coming. Technology, please help us. There we go. You see, I have faith in technology. Okay, Leslie, thanks.
We good? Okay. It's not showing up here. There we go. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here on Monday and rainy. And I see a lot of familiar faces, some new faces. But this is actually applicable to all of you. If you have a cms.hhs.gov address, you can access the Corporate Executive Board. I'm not sure if all of you know that, but it's a really great resource tool, and hopefully we'll learn something new about it today that we may not have known before. So this is what we're going to talk about, a little overview on CEB, what it is, and the different councils that we have. Some practical use for CEB, as well as some trends that we're having in usage. And I do know a little bit more about the takeover by Gartner, and I'll share that with you. And some of the ways in which we can practically use CEB every day. There's also some new resources available to the sector in CEB, which many people may not know about. It's the government resource centers, and there's a handout out in the hallway that lists several URLs. The URLs for the government resource centers are not available publicly on the different advisory councils that we have. So I printed those out for you, and if you have any questions or there's not enough printouts left, just give me a call and I can send those to you. So many of you may have seen this advertisement that we had recently on our electronic message boards, as well as some of the handouts out in the hallway, and some of the posters around CMS. We've realized that it's a great resource, and we'd like to see more people using the resource. So it's just a how to get access to it, as well as the list of boards that we have access to. So through our annual membership, all CMS employees and all government contractors that have our CMS address have unlimited access to the councils and boards that we have. You simply go to www.cebglobal.com and you click on Get Started with CEB, and it will take you to a profile page where you will fill in your name, your affiliate, your title, and please use your CMS address because that's your key to get in. And from then on, you will have access to the various boards that we have our subscription with. It's a pretty easy process. So what is CEB? Corporate Executive Board. It's kind of a misleading title, I think, and I hope with the acquisition with Gartner that we'll see there's a lot of synergy. In addition to IT focus, CEB has additional functionalities that I'm sure Gartner is very happy to get access to. They do a lot of things with marketing, HR, legal, and finances that Gartner traditionally hasn't had. They've traditionally focused on IT, marketing, and some of the development areas. So they have more than 50 councils under 12 different functional areas, and CMS has subscriptions to 2 of the functional areas. Of course, focusing on IT, but we've recently added the Shared Services Leadership Council, which is under the financial functional area late last year. And already that's being used pretty heavily by IT and other people in the organization. I just want to point out that even though this seems so IT focused, one of the things I've realized by looking at our usage and who's using the councils, there are a lot more things in there that we can all use in our daily lives. And I have some examples of those documents and things that are available in there to tell you about. When you log in and you create your profile, you will see all 7 of those functional areas or membership councils listed in your profile. They will appear. 6 of them will be under the IT functional area, and the shared services will be under the financial area. Practical uses. I think the majority of people here are using this for research and advisory support. But there's a lot of peer networking that you can do. You can actually have discussions, you can run queries, you can run surveys, and it's a little bit like Amazon. They actually do track what you're looking at, and they will send you suggested articles, and they will also include you in surveys that other companies or other government organizations are running. So I have a little rule in my email where I have all my CEB emails forwarded to a box, because otherwise you can see a lot of them during the day and they'll have the marketing email logo in front. So I just have them go into an email box so I can get to them when I have time. Some of the examples of things that people here are using CEB for, which you may not think just totally fit under IT. They're looking at continuous strategic decision making, public cloud-based infrastructure as a service versus platform as a service, 4 steps for delivering effective peer feedback, post-project review, risk assessment toolkit, project release planning, and one of the most interesting ones is how to create an individual development plan. So all of us have to do that for our yearly PMAPs and evaluations, and they actually have tools within our subscription that can help you with that. So a couple of scenarios for CEB usage. You might be sitting in a meeting and somebody is talking on and on and on, and we all use a lot of acronyms, and all of a sudden somebody says something about IoT or the Internet of Things, and they just keep going, and there's not an opportunity for you to ask a question, or you're kind of scratching your head like, what is the IoT? You can go into any of the CEB Leadership Council areas, it doesn't matter which one, and there's a search box at the top. You can type in the subject, you can even put IoT instead of Internet of Things, and the results right now is you would have 159 research and insights documents come back, 8 tools, 50 events and training, and 14 discussions. They do tape all of their presentations, and so you can watch them at your leisure if you haven't had an opportunity to see one live. Right now, if you were to go into Google and type in Internet of Things, how many results do you think would come back? Any guesses? 241 million. And you know, by the time you kind of weed through all the advertisements and the, you know, focusing on a specific company, you might come up with 3 or 4 in the first three pages. You might come up with 3 or 4 actual peer-reviewed articles. And so this is an opportunity for you to narrow that search down really, really rapidly. A lot of us don't have time to go to the library, or we don't have access to journal articles or peer-reviewed articles. You can go to CEB, type in your subject, and this will come up. Another example is maybe your boss says, go write a paper about DevOps. And I just want to put this clear at the beginning. I did not talk to Patrick or Jeff about this beforehand. We were working completely separately, and I had no idea they were going to talk about DevOps today. But there's another example where I don't really know much about DevOps, and so I'm going to go into CEB and look at some of the experts' writings and articles and get more information, as well as go talk to the folks down in the infrastructure group. Right now, if you type in DevOps in Google, 17 million responses will come in. This is another example of where you can practically use CEB for your day-to-day lives. Any questions so far? Okay. So in addition to the boards that we have access to, we can also get advisory services. This is a really great opportunity for you to have an expert in the field. They will pull in their expert consultants, and they will come in and talk to you. Usually it's virtual. We do have opportunities, however, to have them come into CMS. So they kind of look at your title, and frankly, if you're if you're in a management position, a director position, they actually will come in and have consultations with you, and you can invite other people in your group or organization to listen in on the conversation. They're still up there. Here's some examples of some in-house advisory meetings we had last year. We had one on cybersecurity and one on Agile and DevOps. And there is no limit to that. You can call them or contact them via email and ask them for assistance. Of course, the response time is going to be dependent on what their volume is at the time, but I've typically not waited more than 2 days for a response from them. And often, if I need them to review a document, a statement of work, a strategic plan, or something like that, it never takes more than 10 business days. So as I mentioned earlier, last year they set up the government resource centers. This is only for the IT functional area. And the six leadership boards that we have under the IT functional area each have this separate website where you can go and look at things that are really focused on the public sector. Again, those web addresses are not available on their overall public websites for good reason. And so once you've typed in and created your profile, you can actually leverage those, and they work the same way as all of our leadership councils work. You can type in on any of the leadership councils the subject that you're looking for within those government resource centers, and they will give you articles and suggestions within each of those. The next slide is actually the websites themselves. Again, they're long URLs. But I think the most important thing is remember how to register, how to start using CEB. And if you ever have any questions about these, please, give us a call, send me an email. I'm more than happy to help. And you'll notice the bottom one, the Shared Services Council, again, because it's under the financial functional area, does not have this separate government resource. And that's it. Any questions?
Anyone?
I guarantee you the next topic will be much more interesting.
So just so you know, CEB, they are very supportive, and when people ask me, how do you keep up with technology, it's not just about doing one research, There's so many perspectives about industry and the technologies, and trying to look at that sort of specific trend or whatever is coming out from multiple lenses. It's helpful because you want to get a rounded view. So CEB is one of the resources that I use. They do come, I don't know if you've seen them or not, to CMS's Emerging Edge Forum, which is a quarterly setting, which you're invited to. Thank you, Leslie. And they do provide a different lens for me to understand how technology is viewed from their perspective. I do bring Gartner as well, and we have our own CMSs. And I know all of you probably have a different perspective as well. So it's getting that rounded view so we can take into account, because as a federal government, we got to look at the risk. Yes, technology is great, but we want to make sure that we use it in a proper way. We're not creating any vulnerabilities for any of our systems. So I find them valuable and insightful in some of the areas that they bring to bear to CMS. So now, no questions. Thank you, Leslie, very much. So our next topic is about AWS, and I'm going to ask Patrick and Jeff to come up, and DevOps. I think I've been mentioning this a little bit, the CMS is, yes, DevOps. I didn't know there was about 15 million or more results from a search perspective. So that's one of those topics where everybody has their own interpretation. So CMS is taking the time, and our leadership as well, not just teams, but executive leadership as well, is taking the time really to look at DevOps and what does it really mean to CMS. And how can we move forward with it? Technologies in private industry do not translate verbatim onto the federal government. There's got to be some adjustment because we do have to meet up certain regulations, and we want to be not so in a bleeding edge. We do want to be in a leading edge. So here, Jeff and Patrick are going to begin having these conversations, and there will be more about DevOps and other things that CMS is doing. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, George. Good morning. So my name is Jeff Cernick. To my right is Patrick Quajou, and today we would like to discuss CMS Cloud, specifically DevOps in our AWS environment.
So let's get a hang of the. Go forward, please. I got to press harder. Okay. Oh my gosh, DevOps is here. So back in last year, we've been working on this for quite a while. Back in November, we published a deck that pretty much outlined the definition of DevOps as it means, or as it pertains to CMS. In this deck, we came up with the definition of DevOps for CMS, as a lot of people have alluded to, that if you Google DevOps, and you'll get 17 million responses or whatever. So we kind of framed it for our purposes here. And I'm not going to read it, but this is available. The original deck is available. We've included parts of it here. One of the things with that deck was developing a framework, and some of you may have seen something similar to this. There's various diagrams that show the DevOps lifecycle, or the cogs, and the different components. This one was a variation of one that was in a Gartner deck for Sec DevOps. As you see, we've wrapped security and compliance around the whole DevOps process here, and then we have the infinity diagram with the different phases of the DevOps lifecycle, with the dev on the left and operations on the right. But they're all interconnected and hopefully communicative, and it's continuous delivery across the entire lifecycle. I've added a little bit of animation here, so we've got our really fast app just showed up here. It's in the planning cycle. We're going to have the fast app go through the process and then get deployed, and then it continues and continues. So that's just a little animation here to kind of get you through the different steps through the life cycle. And as they're deploying their app, they've detected a bug. In the ops side, something's not running well, so they've run it through, made sure that there was a bug, and put it through and corrected the bug, and it goes away. It's a little fun there this morning. In the summary notes, DevOps grew out of the Agile process. It's a high-frequency, cyclical process, producing high-quality products through automation. You definitely want to have the automation. And it's very different from the waterfall, where the dev teams used to pass things off to the operations team to deploy it, and then there was a lot of finger pointing, a lot of problems with getting stuff out and out quickly. It also defines that the business owner, or the business owner designee, the product owner, is highly involved in the process of making sure that they have a great product and that it's put out timely and quickly for the consumers to use. Supporting DevOps at AWS. Currently, AWS is our one platform that we have out there. There are more coming. OIT provides the following to our stakeholders: guidance for transformation to the new hosting model in the cloud, support for teams wanting to use DevOps, and also we'll have updates to the TRA and XLC reflecting that new dynamic. And making sure that we have an application-centric infrastructure rather than an infrastructure-centric kind of model where the application dictates what kind of infrastructure you put out. Cheaper, faster, higher quality, and of more value to our stakeholders. This is a little diagram just kind of pointing out what waterfall kind of looks like. You have our business owner on the left, and the peaks in the triangles in this diagram, the 4 triangles, show the business owner involvement at that stage. And there's a lot of involvement at the very beginning, gathering the requirements from the business of what they want. Then the developers go off and design and develop the application. And there's a little bit of involvement there. Then they put something out, it gets tested, the testing results go back to the business owner, and then they get a go or no go to the final stage of deploying the application and implementation, and then everybody's happy at the end. Hopefully they'll have an application that functions and works without problems at the very end. But this is a very long, drawn-out process, and this is involving separate teams that don't necessarily work in conjunction with each other, even though they do have a goal in deploying the application. But there's a lot of times where there's problems and there's a lot of finger pointing going on. The transformation path for business owners from the CMS legacy framework to the DevOps framework. And we understand that not every application is a candidate for cloud, and not every application will go into a DevOps mode, but we'll help you evaluate that technology or your application. And for those that want to adapt to it, we'll help you with that, and then finally adopting the new DevOps model. So OIT's committed in delivering customer-focused services. We're leading the way to drive culture change across CMS, and DevOps is definitely a culture change. And we want to inspire success for all parties involved. We have several communication channels, which I'll be speaking to later. We offer business support, tools and resource, and guidance to help you evaluate what you need to get to DevOps. One thing to keep in mind for DevOps is you want to make sure that your application is designed for the cloud. There are some nuances versus traditional hosted data center applications and designing applications for the cloud. Infrastructure as code is key to architecting your application, making sure that it's application-centric, only deploying what you need, and it needs to be responsive and dynamic to the need of the application. And one of the things we try to encourage or discourage here is forklifting, just taking your application in a managed data center as it lives today and just replicating it in the cloud. Number one, it doesn't save you cost-wise, and it also may cause more problems in operating and cost you more. So as we move forward, Jeff is going to speak to the CMS footprint currently at AWS. And there we go. Jeff?
Thank you, Patrick. So yes, coming up this June of 2017, we will hit our 2-year-old birthday. This task order began back in 2015. On that day in 2015, we had a single business owner with a handful of AWS accounts. Today, we now have over 3,300 EC2 instances, 60 different CMS accounts, and you can see here it's made up of the following CMS offices and centers. We provide connectivity to CMSNet and CMS HHS email relay service.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so now I'd like to discuss how the architecture at AWS works. So this graphic here is a single availability zone. So this is not dependent upon the environment you're in, whether it's dev, implementation, validation, or production. This is a standard availability zone. You can see here you have a transitive router and a NAT gateway. And then you can see your presentation subnet, your app subnet, and data zone. Also, each of these VPCs, virtual private cloud, you have what is called a CMS routable IP space, also known as a CIDR block. There's more information on CIDR blocks and the VPC sizing on our Confluence website. There's several templates out there to get more information and learn about. But at a high level, we offer a small, medium, large, and extra large VPC sizing.
That's good.
Okay, here is a depiction of a dual availability zone, so two availability zones within a single VPC. You can kind of see the separation there by availability zone 1 and 2. We are currently here at CMS in the East and West regions. The majority of our applications do, however, reside in the East. Most, if not all, do run multiple availability zones. And we do have the availability to support up to 3 different zones. This picture here depicts your 2. So you can kind of see the 2 different transit routers, the 2 different NAT gateways, and then your presentation, application, and data subsets. And then here is even at a higher level of our architecture. So let's walk around this graphic a little bit. Starting at the at the top, you see users, and you can see that these users access the application over the internet. And then if you look to the right, you will see a little logo there that says DevOps team. So that's the developers, and that's how they come into the environment and access your application VPC. They currently today connect through OpenVPN. There could be a change in the future to a Cisco VPN solution. And then the bottom part of this graphic, you see a connection from your VPC to another data center over CMSNet. And then to the left in this square, you see a shared services VPC where we have a bunch of different tools and services that make up our shared services. Patrick will go in greater detail later in this deck to talk more about those services in that shared services VPC. On this slide, you can see what is known as our CMS Gold image, our Amazon Machine images. We have two of them, a Red Hat version and a Windows. The Red Hat, I believe the first version is 6.7. I think now we offer into 7.1. Those versions will continue to be offered as long as they receive updates. And then we also do offer a Windows 2012 R2 release version as part of our Gold image package. You can see all the different tools that also come with the Gold image, such as New Relic, Trend Micro, etc. And then here is a list of approved services that we can use here at CMS in our AWS Enclave. On the left, you see the FedRAMP approved, and then on the right side, you see the CMS approved services. So we feel that the one cool thing about AWS is all the different services that they do offer. So we try to use as many as we can, and we try to approve them as quickly as possible. But here's a list for you. And some of these are very recently approved, such as SNS, SCS, SQS, and this list will continue to grow. And then here is a few tools and services that we offer in addition. So Cloud Checker, this is a new tool that we have just rolled out to all the business owners here at CMS. It gives you a great high-level view of how you're doing in AWS. You can see your costs, control costs. You can see your usage on your servers, your instances. You can find out where you're spending too much money, how you can save money, what changes you can make. So it's been very beneficial to us and our business owners that we work with. You can also see Cloud Protection Manager. This is used to automate, control, and maintain those EC2 instances and EBS volumes, and then you can see the email relay service as well. So how do you get into AWS here at CMS? Well, you would work with me and my team. It all starts out with a cloud service questionnaire. Some of you may be familiar with it. It started out at about 60 pages or so, where you had to fill in tons of questions and provide us with your social security number, just kidding, but a lot of information. But now we've shortened it. It's much shorter, easier to turn around, and with that, we can turn you around a quicker estimate of IGCE, and then so you would submit that questionnaire, we'd review it, provide you with that IGCE, assuming that the business owner is comfortable with it. We would move on to the proposal process through the contractor, and assuming all that's good, you complete a technical evaluation, and then we would get you implemented. So generally, I would say the process can take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Some are shorter, some are longer. It really depends on how quickly you can turn around that questionnaire. Once we have it and it's filled out appropriately, we can turn around IGCE rather quickly to you. And now Patrick will continue.
So continuing on with the DevOps operating environments, I just wanted to show this slide here just to kind of ground ourselves where we're at. The first one is really not DevOps. It's DevOps in term-wise, but not in reality, where the line of demarcation, and this can actually move up or down a little bit, but the dev team basically codes their application and hands it off to the ops team who deploys it. So that's the current traditional method that we do today. There's also a platform as a service, which we're not quite there yet in our cloud environment, but we're working towards setting up a PaaS service where the dev team really still deploys code, because that's what they do, but instead of setting up all the middleware and all the OS and picking up that infrastructure, they'll deploy it through a PaaS service, and those parts are already pre-built or automated, and the key to DevOps is automation. The last model here is the IaaS, and between PaaS and IaaS there can be a mixture. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, but in the IaaS, the DevOps team is doing everything. They're actually coding to have servers deployed, load balancers, and networking and everything involved with that. The goal of CMS is to have the most common CI/CD tools available for use in the cloud. We're not going to pick, they pretty much pick themselves, and the DevOps teams will gravitate towards the most useful and tools that meet their need. We know that these tools change. Technology changes about every 3 months. So as these tool chains change, hopefully we'll change with them and bring on the new tool sets to have them more available to our DevOps teams. And again, the point is to encourage fast and quality deployments through the use of automation. We don't want to be actually going in there and manually changing server settings. We want the tools to have those things already set up for us, and we deploy the code through the tools. This was the slide that we're getting back to that was originally shown in the notional diagram for the AWS environment. And we'll have something similar in other cloud environments as well, a shared service that everybody could leverage, all the VPCs will have access to. This by no means is a endorsement or of any of these products or services here, but this was just shown as an example. Not all these tools are available currently in our shared service environment. Yes, we do have Splunk, we do have CMS LDAP and Active Directory there, but we are working towards getting all these tools in a common place for all our DevOps teams to utilize that will have the governance and security basically baked in so that you don't have to run your own Jenkins server in your environment and pay for that EC2 instance, that you'll have a Jenkins server that you can rely on that will already have the governance built into that. So we're working through that. It's a work in progress. There are no timelines right now. We do have these tools in the environment. There are some teams running them themselves. We do have Confluence, Jira, and HipChat available. We're working to make an enterprise as well as the CMS Git repository, which hopefully all our developers will be using that to store their code. So that's what this slide speaks to here. But we are making efforts every day to making this better for our teams to use. Some of the other tools and technologies we're looking at, IBM Bluemix, OpenShift, Cloud Foundry, container services such as Docker. We currently have a Docker pilot. Hopefully we'll be able to have that as a shared service for people to use that want to use containerization.
So where can you go to find additional information? So Patrick has spent a lot of time making information available to the general public and CMS users. At the top right there, you can see the CMS Twitter handle and then the hashtag below that. There's a listserv service that's available. You can subscribe to that to receive alerts and notifications. There is an OIT SharePoint website on cloud, CMS Zone, and then there's a ton of information out there on CMS.net as well. You can search cloud, or there's the direct URL as well. And then here is points of contact information. The first is the cloud team contact email. That is a distribution list. So if you just type that in, that will go to Patrick and myself, as long as the other members of our team. And then there's a DevOps contact email as well. Cloud team manager is Jerry Kuhn. My name's Jeff Cernick. I'm the team lead, and then Patrick is the technical and DevOps lead, and our emails and phone numbers are listed. So that is the end of our presentation. Are there any questions? Sir?
I know they provided tons of info. I know they went a little fast, but you know that's how DevOps is, right? You move fast.
Agile.
Agile. You move. I will ask you to please come to the microphone if you have any questions, because this is being casted and streamed as well, so everybody will be able to hear you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for a great presentation. I am Sumant Kapoor with Radiant Infotech. I have a question related to pricing. So if, for example, if as a contractor we are responding to the fixed bid and we propose a AWS-based technology stack, so how would we sort of price out the services that CMS has approved or provides? And if there are any services that we propose, for example, like Lambda service architecture or anything related to like a data solution, which currently is not there or approved. So I have two questions. So the first question is, how would you price those services in your proposal? And second is, if you don't see a service listed here in your presentation, how do we get that service sort of incorporated into your offering?
Sure. So I'll answer the second second question first. So as far as services, if there's a service that you want to use that you do not see, definitely just shoot an email to Patrick and I, and we will assist you with next steps on that. Now, as far as pricing, I'm not sure if you're talking about from a hosting standpoint. For instance, if you want to spin up your own EC2 instance, I would recommend working with your business owner on those types of costs. Whereas we in our CMS AWS Enclave, we work with a contractor that provides us AWS services, so we have our own rates and things of that nature. So it's going to differ from what you see. As far as to give you an idea, I would recommend using the AWS calculator. It's free and open to the public. That'll give you a rough idea of what those hosting costs would be.
So can we base the cost off from the AWS calculator? I mean, the CMS or the vendor, which is GDIT, do they have any markups that we need to factor into the pricing, or
I
we
can't,
are okay
I can't
with?
share those.
So,
Okay.
so let me provide some guidance there. So the hosting part of this is done with the business owner direct with CMS, with our group. Yes. So there's no subcontracting with the AWS to provide hosting services, if that's kind of where you're going with that. So the pricing's done between the business owner and IUSG or CMS, and we provide the hosting services environment and all the pricing with that. So what the AWS calculator gives you is just a generic number of how much it'll cost to operate that EC2 instance or that storage, but there are other prices and markups that are involved. We also have enterprise support, which is another calculation that's based on it, and some other things. So as far as coming into the AWS environment, the business owner basically sets that up with our team.
Yes.
And the hosting is done by us. It's not part of the software development contract.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
But this is sort of before the process, even we know who the business owner is. So we are responding to an RFP, and it says it's a fixed bid. So we have to give a cost proposal to the government saying that this is the cost, the ODC
Right.
cost that we are proposing in our response. So how can we ensure that, or at least
So-
CMS would evaluate all the
Right.
vendors at the
So-
same parity?
What you want to use is the same rate across, so all contractors are not overestimating or underestimating because the price is the same. I don't know that we can answer that, but let us take that back to see if something that we can work out with our friends in contracts to see if they can provide some guidance to us, and then we'll share that. And now, since we have Zone, we can put something out there in terms of coming out. But let me add a little bit more about the services, because this is a topic actually that gets confused a little bit. If a service is not approved by CMS yet, it's just like an open source. You can bring it in, you can propose it, but it is the cost. It has to be SCA by the team that is bringing in the new service, just like you would any new COTS package or any new open source. It's the same approach. What we're going to do on our side is, with the team here, is we're going to take that SCA and that cost and try to add it to the CMS approved list. So other groups can benefit from it. So it'll become part of the GSS.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Hi, Dave Merrill. And I'm not going to ask about Ken's markup, so we'll just to get that out of the way. So a couple quick things. So, first question here, just dovetailing back on that. The tools are rapidly evolving
Yes.
for DevOps. Do we have a fast track process for evaluating DevOps support tools, not necessarily, the infrastructure or the AWS or other cloud services, but the actual tooling that's supporting, the development process, so we can see other tools added onto that list? And then the second, could you comment on your roadmap about where you're going to go with interoperability for, perhaps some other cloud services and some of the other things that are going to have to be, involved in doing either cross-cloud deployments or other interoperability, areas there beyond just Ken's Cloud?
You mean
Thanks.
beyond AWS? I can take that question. So, I think the team explained we have a number set of tools and a number of shared services. The vision is to create. So, number one, we're going to do two things. We're going to create a set of requirements, right? And we're going to say these tools must do thing in a chain of DevOps, all the way to deployment. And then CMS is going to say, this is what we have that meet this requirement for you contractor to use. and that would be the stack. But then, if contractors want to bring something else, you're welcome to bring that. All we're going to ask you is that it meets those requirements that are stipulated that once we set them up. So you can continuously evolve, and then you can use that on your own. So the enterprise, I don't know if you noticed this, but this is the new trend. We're going to let you know what we have, but if you want to bring something new, we're going to adapt that as long as it meets certain requirements, especially when it comes to security, interoperability, and it doesn't introduce any vulnerabilities to the enterprise. That's our general position, and we will try to do the same thing with our DevOps sort of approach. In terms of the multi-cloud, it's taken us 2 years to get here. We're learning a lot. Our vision is to have that same approach that has been outlined here be a similar fashion in other clouds out there, whether it's Azure, whether it's IBM. As we move forward, we definitely want to do the same thing. We want it to be an extension of CMS's enterprise, and by that I mean connectivity to CMSnet. So in reality, I guess in theory really, you can connect from AWS all the way to a different cloud if you go through our CMSnet, because the connectivity will be there from a network perspective. Now, is that something that we want? I don't know, but we're going to make it available. Who knows, man? We'll come up with a different model out there. But at the same token, we want to reuse everything that we have built within CMS. Just because you're in a cloud, we don't want you to be a silo. There's a lot of assets that have been created. There's a lot of information within the VDCs. So the connectivity is there. That's the purpose. I always say I want interoperability as one of the main sort of driving forces as we move into different ventures of technology. So, yes.
Great presentation. Conrad Bovell from OFM. I have 2 questions. One on security, and going back to the original question with respect to the original questioner regarding some of the financial pieces. For security, given the number of items and services that you all are including in the offering, does that also mean that CKIC integration and all of those other mandatory security pieces for CDM are going to be included in the offering in terms of the support and the services that the CMS DevOps folks are going to be providing?
So as far as security is concerned, we're working with a team at ISPG. They have actually a DevOps work group within that team, and we're working together to make sure that the tool chains and everything meet all the compliance standards that are required by the federal government and CMS. Okay. So the vision is that, yes, those tool chains will have that built in, so to speak, so that when you're deploying applications, that it meets the security benchmark, and if it doesn't, it can't get deployed. So that you're not deploying something that has vulnerabilities into the environment, because you're automating everything. So you want to make sure that even security is automated into that piece, and that it meets all the requirements. So we are working with ISPG and getting all those standards set up.
Okay. And let me add a little bit more to this. I know it was very, very subtle the way that we show security around the infinity diagram. Mm-hmm. Why do we do that? Because in reality, we are fully connected to the CKIC and the SOC for CMS. That is the value that using the enterprise AWS enclave brings to you, because that whole perimeter has been secure and it is connected, so we have full visibility from the security perspective. So creating a separate enclave, those calls, that investment, that connectivity, that integration will have to be duplicated on a separate enclave. That's why CMS has made a significant investment on this one to be fully connected with the enterprise.
Okay. And then also with respect to the financials, because as a business owner, in many instances, as we're thinking about what it is that we want to do with respect to the pricing and the contents of the statement of work that we're going to be producing, evaluating the cost of ownership in the DevOps environment versus the cost of ownership that's going to be presented to us based on the requirements that we put out on the street, and sort of helping the business owner understand what it means to do what we do in your environment. And to the gentleman's point previously, I would tend to want to find out what it's going to cost me there and use that to sort of benchmark and evaluate others but also to better understand what I can do and what kind of service I'm going to want, whether it's going to be hosting environment with all the other pieces and that costs associated with it, or if it's just personnel, developers that I'm getting, because it's going to be cheaper to just do all of the infrastructure and those things in the DevOps environment. So I'll be looking more to sort of bet more granularity on the pricing and what that means to the business.
Sure. As a CMS business owner, if you know what your requirements are prior to putting a proposal out on the street, we can work with you on an individual basis and provide you with those costs and visibility. We can take it down to the line and tell you, hey, this is what this EC2 instance is going to cost you for a year. We can make that very visible to a CMS business owner.
Absolutely. You can get the concierge services that we have at IUSG or the infrastructure team to work with you.
Oh no, now we got to build a concierge service.
But the biggest thing, though, from a business owner perspective, and I want to make sure the contractors also listen to this is kind of like when you give your kids their first smartphone, right? Who has to monitor the data usage? You have to, right? Because now that they have that power, you're going to download and watch every video that there is in YouTube. Because my kids do that, and they just, data usage goes up through the roof. The same thing happens in an AWS environment, because once you get in, you know, the developers, everybody wants to get in and do as much as they can, so they're using it. You have to learn now I need to see how much are they consuming of that data package, if you will. I'm just using that analogy, because now you have to be more engaged, because those costs will come to you because it's paid for what you use. So if you don't keep an eye on that, it's like the kids. They go, they use it, and then they'll come back, oh yeah, but we were trying this, and that, and perhaps in your priorities, you had a different way to execute. It wasn't that it wasn't supposed to be done, but perhaps you wanted to be more focused in this area, and then maybe next month in a separate area. So it has more engagement from the business and oversight, so you understand what's happening.
And once you're in our AWS footprint, that tool I referenced earlier, Cloud Checker,
Yes.
it's a great tool. It's been a great asset to our team. You can click into your single account. You can look at your various services that you're using in AWS, and you can see what that's costing you per hour, per day. You can see what the usage is on the machines.
Right.
If you need to change to a lower instance type, it's all there.
And I just want to add to that, and what George was saying, using the kids analogy. It's like, you know, the kids running around the house and turning on every light in the house, and then they left the room. Well, they left the room, but they left the lights on, right? So there's a lot of times you have, you know, things get created and they're left on, but they're not being used anymore. And Cloud Checker exposes all that. We also have best practices, and we also have, and I don't know if we mentioned this in the presentation, there is a CMS AWS users group, which we highly encourage our business owners and developers to attend. It occurs every month. We talk about various topics, and then we also talk about things like, you know, what did you do to solve this problem, that kind of thing. And then we also talk about new technologies to kind of help you save money, like containerization. Instead of buying 24 EC2 instances, can I containerize some of them and bring down my cost on my EC2 costs? The other thing is hybrid environments. You don't have to be all into cloud. You can have your data source reside at a traditional data center and have your application set up on cloud. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. It doesn't have to be all in one, and we can help you, you know, through that path. So.
Is that something that,
You have to come to the microphone.
okay, sorry. Is that a meeting that you already have to have an application in the cloud to attend? Like if we're interested
Oh, to be part of the
in-
user group? I
Yeah.
don't think so, right? And it's open to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's open. I mean, there might be some things in there that people may not understand because they're all talking about things that are going on in their environments. But yeah, it's not restricted in any way. Initially, it's just we've invited the initial core people that are AWS business owners in the environment. If you're interested, shoot us an email and we'll send you the mailing list. There's also on the listserv that we just created last week, there is a listserv for COG announcements. So subscribe to it, and when things get sent out, you'll get it in your inbox.
COG?
COG, CMS AWS Users Group, CAUG.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Acronyms.
Gotta love them.
More acronyms, yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. Gary Rubalski, Signature Consulting Group. Wanted to get your thoughts about the challenge that you foresee, which is similar, I think, to the Agile adoption at CMS, where you have multiple components of a large application that's sort of scattered across various regions, various infrastructures, and various contractors. And some contractors may be using legacy or traditional models. Some of the other contractors maybe are adopting more of the Agile and the DevOps models. So what's your plan on closing some of those blind spots if you want to monitor the holistic environment? So if you've got a big application running and you want to monitor all of those pieces where there's transaction bottlenecks, but some of those pieces are maybe still using some of the older models or contractors that their contracts aren't set up to support the Agile and the DevOps approaches just yet. What is your vision there? I mean, I know George has been socializing the Agile model within the agency. Are you also socializing the DevOps as part of that? And just what are your thoughts there?
Yes. I mean, it's like the biggest thing I always say is that that's one of the challenges for us, right, as an organization, because there are pockets that are able, if you're a brand new development, you can go into the new things already. But if you have an existing infrastructure, it's going to take you time to change what you have. And obviously that takes funding, cost, time away from what you already have from a priority perspective. It's a journey. I mean, I don't really have an answer to tell you, but it's a journey. And we're trying to work. And there's going to be, and the challenge is that if you have to interface, if you're working in a brand new software development effort, or you're in Agile, DevOps, and you move it, but then you have to interface with a legacy type resource. That is where you have to have the timing. That is where the art of the integrators and the contractors has to come in to ensure that the business owners understand that dependency, because we're not at 100% there. So you have to work with them. We look to you as the experts to understand and foresee that, you know what, there is that legacy system. We need that data. That's going to take probably 3 to 4 months. We can develop in 2. So how do we work that? How do we close that gap, if you will? So we're not there. We're trying to get there, but it's going to take some time for us to get there.
So,
We do have some tools in place like Splunk and New Relic that cross whatever your hosting environment is, whether it's cloud or traditional. So there are some tools there so that you can see your application end to end, as far as logging and certain things like that. So those are available. But like George was saying, it's an evolutionary process, and as we see things become more complicated and more interdependent, where you may have a microservice, actually an application living in one data center that becomes a microservice to another application. You're adding complexity to things, and how do I look at that whole picture? We're evolving and learning as we go through that process as well.
do you foresee that you're actually going to put specific requirements and specifications into the RFPs to drive Agile and DevOps type of responses?
I will see definitely that,
For
because
sure.
our business community are becoming more and more in tune with these new opportunities. If they hear quick delivery, cost efficient, they want to be all over that. They want that. So you're going to be seeing that more and more. Obviously, there's an education because it's a new approach. There's new responsibilities that go on the business owner. There's new responsibilities that are inherent with the DevOps model that the data centers used to take. Now it goes to the contractors. So it's also looking at the maturity. So from our perspective, it's always trying to assess. So one of the analogies we use with DevOps is, getting to the point where you can continue build things, develop, build, and deploy in a very efficient manner. It's like you're a black belt in karate, right? Not everybody's there. Some of them are, the orange, some of them yellow. So the contractors also have to be very mindful where you are and be true with the resources that you have. And don't say, we are black belt, we're going to go there, and then we get ourselves into trouble. Because at the end of the day, who gets affected? The business owner, right? And then CMS will notice as well. So we're trying to come up with a way that we can sort of, it's not about punishing, but it's understanding the reality of where we are today in respect to the ability to develop and use these tools. It's just like open source. I always said, you can bring any open source tool you want as long as you know how to use it. Because otherwise, you create more damage. And I've seen that in actual projects, where they use an open source because it was a thing to use, and then the knowledge was not there or the skill was not there, and you create more chaos than the benefits that can bring. It's similar to this as well.
Great. Last question before Hytham starts kicking in here. So help me understand, who actually manages the CMS AWS? When the program is up and running, is it the CMS shared service board that's managing it, or is it the actual program that's managing their instance?
So the business owner is responsible for their developer or DevOps team. It's all part of our task order. So I would say as far as managing costs and things like that, it's going to be on that CMS business owner.
No, managing the infrastructure, like if you want to make changes to the infrastructure.
Sure. So that's, if you are a DevOps model, it would be your developer, your DevOps team.
So it would be at the
You're
program
right,
level.
yes. Think of every VPC as a mini data center. So basically, that's your data center to work in there. So your DevOps team's responsible for everything in that. There are some cross-boundary things that will fall into AWS's responsibility, or our contractor GDIT that is the cloud service provider for us for AWS. So there are still some boundaries, but mostly for your application team, your DevOps team, they're responsible for that infrastructure in there.
Is that documented like anywhere? Like
Yes, it's in the questionnaire, the onboarding questionnaire. There's actually a whole section on DevOps, and you can pick and choose how you want to be serviced or maintained within the environment.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yep.
Hi, Hytham Saeed with Scope Infotech. Gary kind of stole my question around. The next question was, what do GDIT and AWS provide if the development team isn't doing all of the infrastructure support? So you said that's listed on the questionnaire.
Yes.
Second question I'd have for you is any kind of lessons learned that you guys have for the community?
Yes, we do have lessons learned.
Okay.
It's published on the intranet.
Well, it will. Yeah, it will. There's some of it on the intranet. We'll put more and more documents out there. Like we mentioned in the presentation, we have several avenues of communications. We have the listservs. We have the CMS Zone, which is public-facing. So the only catch there is you got to create an EIDM account to get into it. And we'll have information up there for developers and vendors to also consume, as well as stuff that's in CMSNet. We also created SharePoint site. We do have lessons learned. If they're not up there, they'll be up there shortly, or you could just email us and we'll send some stuff out there to you.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Yep. Sure.
Anybody else? On the phone? No questions? Oh, there is one more.
Conrad Bovell again. What's been the greatest challenge for the business owners who have utilized your service?
I would
Been
say
many.
I would say the greatest challenge is operating as a liaison, because it's a different model. The DevOps model is in the past it's that developers working with that infrastructure contractor. In this, it's a lot more freedom with that DevOps team. So I want to say trust could be one, because the business owner kind of needs to be aware of what that developer is doing. Like, for example, if the requirements are for 20 instances, but then that developer gets a hold of that VPC and they spin up 100, now the developer is going to have the ramifications of that cost difference. So I would say that's been one of the bigger challenges.
And as a result of that, we have what's referred to as EAC reports that come out every week to the business owner that kind of sets their burn rate and shows how much they're consuming based on what they've paid down. So it's because we're the government, you can't just go up and swipe your credit card and create a VPC. We actually have a procurement model behind it. And so you kind of have to predict what your usage is going to be, and then you burn towards that rate. But like Jeff was alluding to, if you start spinning stuff up that's not originally scoped and they start accruing costs, your burn rate's going to be faster. So yeah, you do have to have that trust with your developer, have that conversation, and making sure that you're in tune with what's going on in your environment. That's the biggest thing.
And I'll add to that is we want to make sure that our contractor community, our partners here, are helping our business owners, making sure that they understand where you are. Is everybody a black belt? Probably not. Do we all want to be a black belt? Yes. So we have GDIT today to help out and close that gap. So if the contractor can only do so many of the tasks and have GDIT be there to sort of help them get to the next level, that resource is available there for you. And that's what we want to make sure that you provide that sort of level of knowledge to our business components because they're going to rely on you heavily. So that would be the last part. And so not everybody has to be a black belt to begin with. And that's not a penalizing anyone. It's just we want to make sure the job gets done properly to the government. At the end of the day, we want to deliver products that are going to help support the programs that CMS has under their purview. Couple of things I wanted to close. Thank you, Jeff and Patrick. Much appreciated. They've been the force. And you'll see them more and more, I promise that. But that's the other benefit of Tech Topics is to get to know the faces behind the efforts. You'll see all those things on the internet, but who are the people? We have very good people in here, so we have Leslie, Patrick, and Jeff working on this effort. So I really appreciate you guys coming here this month. Couple of things I wanted to mention in closing. One of the things that the team mentioned was zone.cms.hhs.gov. It's a collaboration site. It's secure. You do need to register for it. And we're going to be sending more instructions, and we're going to be using that site for contractors to access the information that we share, that we showcase on these forums. That way we don't have to email the information. You can just go there and get it yourselves. And then the team is also going to be providing more information on those communities in terms of the what materials get updated. So you'll have that information out there. You can access it at your discretion. We'll continue to use Twitter, so keep watching CMS Gov. That's the official CMS handle to sort of announce any new things that we just put out there. That way you'll know what's happening. So that's the new thing. So I know that for a while everything we put in was in SharePoint and no one can get to it unless you had a VPN access. So that was kind of hard. So hopefully this will close that gap on that regard. And then our next tech topic is on April 26th. So we'll talk about, at this moment, we have the enterprise portal, master data management, and we'll have Gartner also come in and offer some of the services that they have. Any other questions, anybody? No? All clear, all good? Well, thank you, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you, George.
Thanks, George.
Bye.